I've been getting a bit of a kick out of playing old games recently. Not all games in terms of their age, but I hope there wasn't actually played them. I do find it easy to look back at a lot of old games we used to play and look back at them with a great deal of nostalgia. But soon enough, it wears off, and I realise that memory is not nearly as good as the experience. And that's nothing unique to gaming, mind you. Lots of TV shows and movies want you to do the same. You look back at them with rose-tinted glasses. But in the case of Mirror's Edge, the experience is still just as good as I remember. It might sound shocking, in the game demanding not rose, but red tinted glasses. There's an undeniable beauty to the Mirror's Edge world that, while completely alien, contains a strange sense of familiarity to it. It's a mix of Eurasian brutalism and American consumerism combined to make what looks like the ultimate statement of society. What once stood wildlife and ecosystem now stands vast skyscrapers, huge highways, constant streams of trains, and vivid colour. The entire environment the game cultivates is a statement of the harshness of humanity, and you, the player, act as a force of protest, running through an environment that by design does not accommodate you. The city you find yourself in is a dystopia hiding within paradise. At a glance, it seems pleasant, but soon enough you find yourself asking, how has it come to be so pleasant? What measures have the powers to be taken to ensure this pleasantness? The measures, as you find through Faith's eyes, are that of surveillance and violent force, reminiscent of the real world, something that I think provides the aforementioned familiarity of the city. Now don't get me wrong, the game released well over a decade ago, and it certainly does show its age, but it's shocking just how little when matched up to other games of its era and beyond. But the age of the game is irrelevant, because there's an ageless beauty in the design of the game. The world is modern, with a style more akin to modern art than minimalism, which we most associate with modernness in our current society. The colour choice too is absolutely perfect, and fits each environment without fail. Industrial, blue collar, transport, commerce, it doesn't matter. Despite the game being released somewhat half-baked, no thanks to EA of course, it is clear, or perhaps even a result of this action, the incredible effort was put into the design and general feel of Mirror's Edge. Mirror's Edge is a game that, like I'll touch on later with this gameplay, feels right in a way you understand what themes the game is trying to convey. But it's when it comes down to the nuance, the game entirely falls apart. Like I'll also touch on later, the story is something I can only describe as boring, and then my replays of the game entirely skipped. The characters are barely written, and while tidbits of the story are given out of the game are well done, when they're expanded and projected onto characters, it falls entirely flat. This again is something I contribute to the game being rushed to compete with other games of its time. So the game is themed well, but what about the actual game part of the game? The gameplay is controversial, to put it best. Part of me wants to talk about how amazing and fun it is to play, and another part of me wants to mention how annoying and unfair it is at times. And both these takes, I feel, are entirely valid. Disregarding how the game actually is, and focusing on how it feels for a moment, Mirror's Edge is a great game to play. Most of the time. There are a lot of very specific moments that you must perform that, while most of the time pose no issue, or have failed simply due to the player error, there are some moments that feel completely unfair, with no real lessons learned from their failure. I feel this is especially true in combat, something widely considered to be awful in Mirror's Edge. To memory, there are 3 basic attacks, along with the ability to disarm enemies, and of course, fire weapons that you acquire. There's a simple punch, a slide kick, or punch, depending on your movement speed, and a jump kick. To most players, the reason for picking any one of these simply depends on where you are relative to an enemy. Movements are made not for an ideal combat style, because if you ask more players, there are no ideal movement styles. But that's false. The game never teaches you, and what I can only describe as the fastest tutorial sequence I've ever seen, is that each of your attacks have a unique quality to them. To name a few, kicks do more damage than normal attacks, one-on kicks easily stun enemies, the slide kicks can be devastating as long as you have the momentum to back them up. Those are just a few of the intricacies of the attacks in Mirror's Edge, but it's something the game never teaches you. This doesn't even cover all the specifics of the movement in the game, which I won't even go into because, to be completely honest, I don't fully understand them myself. Mirror's Edge is a game that demands perfection without instruction. As far as combat goes, it's practice. As far as movement goes, it's a matter of playing the game over and over again until you notice less and less what feel like unfair mistakes. Beyond my gripes, it's just the nature of the game. Replayability is key in Mirror's Edge, and where I personally get the most enjoyment out of playing the game. The quick progression from this to this is something that I haven't gotten out of any other game I've played. It would be remiss not to mention the other two key factors of Mirror's Edge, the story and the music. First off, the story. I'm not one that typically goes for story in most video games, and will go out my way to avoid games that are mostly story driven, just made a few exceptions. If a game has a bad story, typically it doesn't faze me, so long as the gameplay can make up for it. But if a story actually manages to captivate me, that means something very important. I'm not easily impressed by something I actively got my way to avoid most of the time. Mirror's Edge is not one of those games. Like I said earlier, it doesn't impact my overall view on the game, but it's hard not to mention just how boring and lacking I find both the stories and characters in this game. I struggle to find any reason to care about the characters, and I find it especially hard to care about the story, which in later edges of Mirror's Edge becomes a lot harder to follow, especially if you just stick to the lore the two games provide. Again, this isn't bad for the overall game, but I think these first few seconds of unedited gameplay show my feeling about the story. Yeah, it's bad. But I think what makes up for the lacking story is the music in this game, which, to put simply, is outstanding. It's a soundtrack that feels often really nostalgic. I don't know if this is unique to me or people of my generation, the songs sounding reminiscent of something of a bygone era, or if this is just something true for everyone, and it's something intentional with the soundtrack. So those video game soundtracks which match the theme of the game perfectly, and it's a soundtrack that I will listen to outside the game whenever I see a bit of background noise. Mirror's Edge is a game where running is exhilarating, death is terrifying, if not disturbing, the music's outstanding, and the story is well forgotten.